Hey everyone, it's your boy Jigga, and I want to thank you for checking out this new episode of Journeys with Jay. In today's episode, we'll be exploring St. Nicholas Abbey Heritage Railway. Let's go! Now, the old Barbados Railway existed for some 56 years, from 1881 to 1937. It made the island accessible for all Barbadians. Many people who lived in Bridgetown or along the west coast may have never seen the east coast of Barbados. In those days, you had to walk or use a donkey cart in some instances. So for many persons, getting a ride on the Barbados Railway was an exciting way to visit another side of Barbados, kind of like how we enjoy our excursions today. Now, you may not have known, but Barbados had various methods of transport back in the day. Everyone is familiar with the donkey carts and the horse and buggy and that sort of system. But did you know that we had a train as well as trams? In today's episode, we'll explore a tribute to the old Barbados railway line. Let's go!
Concept point. It went down the concept cutting, without another name which I'll get to shortly, and then up the east coast. So, ladies and gentlemen, that wonderful coastline you were just looking at was, of course, a part of the railway. Barbados. Huh? Oh, but the people still call it down there. They still call it there. Oh, that's how we get down there. Okay, but I ain't get. I'll leave off you. Okay, so yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I could as well just let the cat out the bag. Concept cutting. If you ask older Barbadians about concept cutting, they may not know what you're talking about. They called it, because of the name of that area, it was called Milady's Hole. Don't ask me why. You can ask the historian, the train guard, if you want that explanation, but I'm just being honest with you, if you ask older Barbadians, that's what they call it. Now, let's go for a little train ride from Bridgetown to Bathsheba. First in context, in the 1800s, they didn't have cars, roads, taxis. Hardly anybody could afford a horse and a donkey. That would take forever. To get from Bridgetown to Bathsheba took 2 to 3 days of walking. How many of you would make that journey today on what would have been muddy, dusty cart roads? Anybody? One person. The train did the same journey in 1 hour and 15 minutes. This was the cutting edge of technology. Let's go for a ride. But you know, we go on the train ride, they had to get train tickets. They had 3 classes of passengers on the train. Now listen, those of you in this course that I'm talking to now, you all came up in first class. But for the sake of this story, you've been downgraded. Just for the story. Third class, keep some noise for me. Alright. Now, you know that a ticket costs 1 penny in third class, so you know your hair sold out. If you had a few more pennies to rub together like these lucky folk, in second class, you can keep some noise for me as well. Alright. And all the way at the front of the train, the preserve of the privileged few. Those who could afford the most expensive and exclusive ticket, first class. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. Very good. A train for everybody. Now, as I told you, the trains would leave Bridgetown for Fairchild Street. They'd make their journey east across the island. For those of you who know Barbados, listen to the names of the train stations. Ruin, Buckley, Windsor, Carrington, Sunbury, Bushy Park, and 3 Houses.
Georgia.
What were these places? Georgia, yeah. Does anyone know what these places were aside from train stations? Yes, but Buckley and Carrington were. Sugar factories is 100% correct. You guys know your history. Guess who paid for the railway?
Sugar factories.
The sugar factories helped pay for the railway. We didn't have the IMF and on the Chinese and all that back then. So they went to the sugar industry and they helped build the railway. Now, to get from 3 Houses to Bath, they had to cut down a mile of rock, as I said, the concept cutting, which was the steepest narrow gauge railway ever in 1883. Let me repeat that. Barbados had the steepest narrow gauge railway ever laid in 1883. Getting down the hill was the easy part. Getting back up concept cutting, which I can see from here, was the challenge. Well, I can see concept point, not the cutting. My eyes aren't that good. Now imagine 120 tons of train has to get up that hill. You would hear the locomotive struggling. You all remember the little engine that Cuddy said, I think I can. I think I can. Chug, 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 chug. Oh dear, we're stuck. Now this is the 1800s. We don't have cell phones, roads, cars, or taxis first class. How do you think we're getting back up the hill? Okay, yes, good suggestion. Push the train. Are you going to push the train today? I would lose my job. Of course not. Second class, are you going to help push the train up the hill today?
Leave it to third class.
Oh my goodness. Where were the most tickets sold? Down in the back of the train. Yes, please. Hello. Third class, you know that old verse that we all know so well. Many hands make light work. Please help us get the train back up the hill. Now listen, before you kill me, we'll get some help for you. How about that? At least we can get you some help. Second class, what are you going to do to help these good folk? Anything at all? Oh my goodness. We have some professional supervisors on board. They said they're going to give you encouragement. Listen, can you all do your watching, your walking, your talking, your praising, sing? All of that can be done outside the train, which will make it much lighter and easier to push. Now listen, let me clarify something. The point was not to push the train, it was to get all the weight off the train. The locomotive did most of the work. I hear complaining, do you? There's only 1 class of passenger left on board. The bougie people. What's that you say? Oh, you have important places to go. And important people to meet. Well, pardon me. Third class, you also push a little faster. First class, my most humblest apologies at this temporary delay. What could we possibly? Yes, rum it is. This guy is first class. Now wait, do you all want rum straight out the bottle or mixed with punch and ice? Now listen. Can you imagine, on a cigar, gosh, can you imagine the gall of it? They're getting cool, refreshing beverages while we push this train up the hill. This is unjust. But don't worry, you know back then what a bottle of rum looked like. They didn't have those little small things we call rum today. They had 4-gallon jugs. First class, you can't drink all that rum by yourself. It was not a challenge, it was not a challenge. Anyhow, we're going to share the rum with the rest of the train as a token of gratitude once we get to the top of the hill. Don't worry, there's plenty more rum. So that was what they did. They used to bribe the passengers with some good rum to get that train back up the hill. Alright, one more point before we go. Anybody ever catch a bus in Barbados on this train? Anyone ever catch it? I know it's a silly question, just humor me. Do we always use bus stops in Barbados? Do we religiously use bus stops on this island? No. Where do you think that started? On the train. It's a British invention, believe it or not, but we've mastered it. It's called a call stop. It was brought here by the Great Western Railway in England. They managed our railway for the first few years. This is how you catch the train Bajan style. You'd walk up to the side of the track. Anywhere would do. You know how to have a train station. What do you do first?
Put out your hand.
Thank you. You fly down the train. But there's a difference between stopping a 3-ton bus and 120 tons of train. The train ain't stopping. he would slow down. They would apply the brakes. He would slow down to 3 to 5 miles per hour. You all remember running boards?
Yeah.
You know why they call them running boards? You better run and jump on. And that's why to this day we say jump on board. So you jump on board and catch the train. And that's where those are from. Now listen, the train is sold out. There's no room left inside. Do you think the conductor stopped selling tickets? You will see the trains arriving in Britain with people inside and on both sides, outside of the train. You might see that in India to this day. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, you can go and get a taste of it if you go to the Roundhouse restaurant in Bathsheba, which was actually a popular railway hotel. You can walk north along the old train line, past the Edgewater Inn. It's abandoned now, but they just reopened the Joes River Railway Bridge. So you can get a little taste and feel of why the railway was so popular for 56 years.
Good afternoon once again, ladies and gentlemen. One of our locomotive engineers, Michael, ladies and gentlemen, made a call stop. He's walking along the track area. You're going to see what it's like to switch in main, one of our manual switch points here at the Abbey. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen, with an extra kick, ladies and gentlemen. That is how we switch the main points here at the Abbey. Thank you so much to our locomotive engineer, Michael, ladies and gentlemen, for his hard work here this afternoon. Give him a round of applause as he makes his way back for his hard work. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as you're looking to the centre, as he's making his way towards you, that is the silk cotton tree right in the centre there, ladies and gentlemen. Indigenous to the island of Barbados. Much like its sister tree, the sandbox, they have a much similar trunk, ladies and gentlemen, that is like that with spikes on it, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who've been to the Great House, you probably would have seen the 400-year-old sandbox tree in the yard of the Great House.
Ladies and gentlemen, at one point, Barbados was known as King Sugar. This land was filled with nothing but sugar cane and kind of grain. We had many plantations. Adjacent over there, ladies and gentlemen, that's Capital Plantation. Over on the northern horizon there, that's Mount A. Over there, we have Cayman, West Border, Mount Hall, Mount A, Fort Hill, Black Beck, etc., etc. We exported some 400 tons of sugar per year to the United Kingdom, and then they would export it elsewhere. Barbados lost the sugar on its though after Cuba, America, and the nobody growing cane in mass, as well as the beef sugar farm. This, ladies and gentlemen, is our main set where we store our green set. On the front of our green set is our simplexes used for track maintenance here at the Abbey trees here at the Abbey. It's probably some 250 odd years old. The mahogany tree is not indigenous to the island of Barbados. They were first brought here and planted much like the breadfruit tree in the 1700s. They were planted here and at Waterford in St. Michael. Front of the exit there, ladies and gentlemen, coming up on your left. That is one of our oldest mahogany trees here. Right there, ladies and gentlemen, one of our oldest mahogany trees. We're making our way down to the great house at St. Nicholas Abbey. 360 years of history lies before you. It's one of three remaining Jacob being Spellman's left in the entire Western Hemisphere. If you've ever done any research about the Jacobites coming out of England, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pretty interesting time, ladies and gentlemen. The other one is at Drax Hall in Barbados, probably the biggest and oldest Canadian plantation on the Barbados side. This one, and it was Jacob, the United States of America. We come to our final stop, ladies and gentlemen, our man-made. Show you around. Instead of our man-made lake, ladies and gentlemen, we have some tilapia in here. We have some mystics ourselves. We also have a family of mallard ducks that come.
Thank you for joining me on another episode of Journeys with Jay. If you enjoyed this episode, I'm going to ask that you continue to like, comment, and share this video. If you haven't subscribed us yet, feel free to hit that bell icon. Until our next journey together, remember to keep safe, God bless you, and it's your boy saying, Jigga out.